Hey, I'm Kevin, and this is HFX by Bike, a channel all about getting around Halifax by bike. I made a video about the Brunswick Street painted bike lanes not long after I first started the channel, but I've held off on making a Let's Fix video, and with the tender to upgrade the painted lanes already awarded for this summer, it's now or never to release it. The existing bike lanes on Brunswick Street are paint only and run between Cogswell in the north and Sackville in the south. There's no current connection on the southern end, although there is about a block away a multi-use path running behind the Halifax Central Library. Until recently, there was also no connection at the northernmost extent of the lanes. However, with the redevelopment of the Cogswell district, a two-way bike lane has been added to the northern side of Cogswell. This isn't well integrated with the existing one-way bike lanes on Brunswick, but you can kind of move between them awkwardly. Brunswick Street itself is wide enough to accommodate two traffic lanes, bike lanes, and street parking along most of the relevant section. And where all three are present, the bike lanes are sandwiched between the parked cars and traffic lane, creating a dooring risk. The city already has an updated design, and there's a non-trivial chance that by the time this video goes live, shovels are already in the ground. So let's start by going over what we can expect for this stretch of road. The overarching concept is to replace the one-way painted lanes with a single two-way bike lane on the western side of the street. This is basically the only design that makes sense, given that Brunswick connects to not one, not two, but three different two-way bike lane or multi-use path systems, and an upgrade was always going to be two-way. This shifts the parking and traffic lanes eastward, since the existing outbound bike lane is being removed and the equivalent space added to the existing inbound direction on the western side of the road. The traffic flows through the area aren't meaningfully changed until we get further south, and even then the changes mostly won't be noticeable from the driver's perspective. Most of the street parking remains in place, although a few sections near intersections appear to have been removed on the western side. This seems to be a combination of accommodating the new bike lane configuration, improving daylighting for pedestrian crossings, and making space for things like patios and other street furniture. At the intersection with Cogswell, the path of travel for bikes has been simplified, so you would just follow the path between the two. The bike lanes don't continue north of Cogswell, although the value of that span is somewhat reduced as the bike infrastructure in the Cogswell district starts to come online. Between Cogswell and Duke, you can see the general layout of the new road configuration. There's a new mid-block pedestrian crossing, which will be useful for cyclists getting to Scotia Square, as it lets them dismount, cross, and walk directly into the pedway system. Continuing south, the two-way lanes on Brunswick will now link up seamlessly with the existing lanes coming off of Rainy and Gottingen. The exact merge point used to be a slip lane for cars and is now functionally a slip lane for bikes merging into traffic onto Brunswick. The slip lane feature is being removed entirely, and the merge point is reoriented to force cyclists to slow down as they move into a space where there will be potential conflict points with other cyclists, but especially with the large number of pedestrians in this part of downtown. Further south at the intersection with Carmichael, you can see the updated design's attempt to improve pedestrian safety by daylighting the crossing using this concrete barrier to narrow the space available to drivers down to just what's necessary, while also improving visibility for the space as a whole. Continuing south, there's a similar treatment at the intersection with Prince Street. The biggest change to how motor vehicle traffic moves along Brunswick is where it intersects with Sackville. Here, the right turn slip lane onto Sackville has been removed and replaced with a parklet. The turn lane remains present, and city traffic engineers seem to think that overall this will improve traffic flow. The other side of the intersection sees the existing through and turn lanes collapse together. A traffic study from earlier in the year shows that about 350 cars per hour are moving in this direction, which is substantially below the actual capacity of the intersection, even with just a single lane. This will be the case even more so once Spring Garden Road to the south goes transit only at some point in the not too distant future. A bike box has been added on the western side of the intersection to make it easier for people to make the left turn coming off the bike lane and head down Sackville, which is a one-way street past Brunswick. The bike lane continues south until it cuts between the newly installed trees and the sidewalk, crosses Spring Garden, and connects to the multi-use path running behind the library towards Morris Street. I honestly don't have a lot of notes on the design. As I mentioned, the basic design was always going to be some version of a two-way bike lane on the western side of Brunswick, and once that's the choice, there's only so many degrees of freedom in the design. So, starting at the southern end, here are some mostly stray thoughts I had about improving the design. First is the crossing at Spring Garden Road. This is currently a fairly busy road, and so normally I would say that a half-signal crossing would really improve the usability. Otherwise, cyclists would have to wait for a gap in traffic to cross, which can take a long time at Spring Garden. Of course, with Spring Garden west of Queen Street less than 100 meters away from the crossing theoretically become transit and bike only in the not too distant future, something like half of the motor vehicle traffic would no longer find this section of road particularly useful, and so the crossing shouldn't be that much of a problem. Most of the redesigned Brunswick Street still has on-street parking to some degree. A really cheap and quick traffic calming action that could be added would just be to paint the outline of each of the parking spaces. It visually narrows the roadway even when the spaces aren't in use. Heading back up to the intersection with Cogswell, the natural inclination would be to continue the two-way lanes north along Brunswick. My main pushback to this would be that past Cogswell, Brunswick is classified as a local street, so theoretically the focus would be more on traffic calming than on building out separated lanes. So we could focus more on things like repeating the trick from earlier of making paint outlines of the street parking spaces, or adding in other traffic calming treatments between Cogswell and the McDonald Bridge. However, with the bike routes in the new Cogswell district starting to come online, Brunswick north of Cogswell is probably going to be less of a load-bearing street for cyclists getting to and from the McDonald Bridge overall. That's a quick run through of the city's planned upgrades to the Brunswick Street bike lanes and my own limited attempt to improve on them. Let me know in the comments which parts you like and which you think could be better. Thanks for watching through to the end of the video. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos all about getting around Halifax by bike. That's it for this one. As always, thanks for watching and see you next time.